I'm here to talk about dialogue. But now I'm not going to talk about how dialogue is a cure for all of our problems. To the contrary, I believe that sometimes asking a person to engage in dialogue can harm that person and exacerbate inequities. When I moved into the dorms at UC Berkeley, my father gave me his beloved picture of Gandhi. My parents are Indians from Tanzania, and they grew up admiring Gandhi's commitment to nonviolence and religious harmony. Much to my father's delight, I hung the Gandhi picture on my wall, but I felt self-conscious, so I put a picture of Run DMC next to the Mahatma. I grew up during the rise of hip-hop. I also grew up during the US invasion of Iraq. It was a time of brutal Islamophobia. During my senior year of high school, a mosque not far from where I grew up in California was burned down. On top of this, in California, there were efforts to repeal affirmative action in ethnic studies. So when I started college, there were plenty of things to protest, and I joined every protest I could find. During my second semester, I organized a vigil for Palestine. We had like 20 people there, and I didn't really think much of it. When I returned to the dorms, my walls were covered with anti-Muslim slurs. The Gandhi picture my father gave me was defaced, a red bullseye put on Gandhi's forehead. I panicked, packed up my things, and moved out right away. The university conducted an investigation, discovered who vandalized my room, and instead of punishing the student, asked he and I to sit for a dialogue in public. I do believe my university was coming from a good place. This was the 1990s, during the period of 3 strikes, when African Americans were disproportionately locked up in prison. Asking us to engage in dialogue was my university's way of saying it had had enough of the carceral state. It wanted to prioritize healing, not punishment. At our dialogue, the student who defaced my room, spoke about moving forward. I spoke about consequences. He felt no need to speak about his humanity. I felt like no one in the room saw me as human. He did not apologize for what he did. And the moderator insinuated that perhaps I should apologize to him. He came across as calm. Some in the room said I sounded angry. It's been 30 years and I still haven't forgotten that night. I never want to forget that night. What that dialogue did was to flatten the power imbalance between us. After all, I had a trash can filled with hateful images that he put on my wall. He did not. More critically, I could point to a long campus history in which people who look like me were disenfranchised from university life. He could not say the same about straight white males. But instead of doing the difficult thing, instead of doing the uncomfortable work, the university shifted that labor onto me. Suddenly, my pain was a subject of debate. We live in curious times. There are more and more calls for dialogue. But I'm suspicious. And here's why I think you should be suspicious too. After the murder of George Floyd, there were wide-scale calls to uplift Black voices. During the pandemic, when we saw a rise in violence against Asians and Asian Americans, there were similar calls, this time to uplift Asian and Asian American voices. Implicit in both of these, I would argue, is an acknowledgement that sometimes violence is lopsided, sometimes a group is targeted. We just witnessed another episode of lopsided violence, this time in the Middle East. But we are not hearing calls to uplift Palestinian voices. We're hearing calls for dialogue. So how is that dialogue going? In a study of 12 months of coverage, the last 12 months on the Sunday morning talk shows by the US networks, with one exception, these talk shows debated the Israel-Palestine question and did not include a Palestinian or Palestinian-American voice once. In Ta-Nehisi's quote, Ta-Nehisi quotes his book, The Message, he quotes a survey in which, during a 50-year period of American publishing, major outlets like the New York Times ran op-eds on Palestine, and in only 2% of those op-eds did they feature a Palestinian or Palestinian-American voice. Imagine that. You're speaking about a people, and yet you're completely unwilling to listen to that people. I'm a father now. My son's name is Mirza, and he's the best, mashallah. I've learned so much from him. And one of the things I've learned is that all of us, regardless of our age, believe in Santa Claus. If you're a pre-med student, perhaps your Santa Claus might be believing in the power of medical research. If you're a dance major, perhaps you believe in a celebrated dance troupe. We hold on to beliefs because beliefs give us meaning. Beliefs help us cope with the past. Beliefs help us move forward. And here's the thing, I still believe in dialogue. It's sort of my Santa Claus. But part of believing in dialogue is knowing when dialogue is not the right course of action. We're in such a moment right now. Because when institutions fail, when they do not want to do the uncomfortable work, when they do not want to do the labor, when they do not want to recognize the imbalances of our world, they call for dialogue. And until they change, until they serve all of us, I propose we do something different. Believe each other. Some nights, my son wakes up in the middle of the night, and he calls me to his room and says, "Dada, help, there's a snake in my bed." I used to say, "Silly Mirza, there's no snake in your bed." But that never gets him to stop crying. Instead, I say, "Oh, there's a snake in your bed. What color is it? Blue? Amazing. That's my favorite color." That's what always sets him at ease. That's what always helps him stop crying, to know that his story is true. Because all those years ago, that's what I wanted, to be believed. So I still believe in dialogue. But what I believe in more, especially these days, is that not all of us get a chance to be heard or believed. Thank you.